Hello everyone, welcome to my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel, chapter 37 this week. And the topic of today's video is getting that pesky thin set out from between grout lines. And boy, are we gonna blast that out of there. Well, the intro is a little bit strange, but it does highlight one real important point tiling, and that is removing the grout, or the excess thin set, sorry, not the grout, the thin set from the grout lines. This is a bit of a struggle for me. These big tiles, I found them a little more difficult to handle, a little difficult to work with. Plus, we're in a very small space here, and it just kind of all worked together to make this a little messier than I would have liked it to be. So I've done quite a bit of cleaning, and that is something I need to show you. Apparently, I'm not alone in this, because when I search things on the internet, there's a lot of stuff about cleaning grout lines, and not a lot of it agrees, and I think maybe I found out why. So stay tuned and I'll go through some things with you. First of all, just a reminder, when you're tiling, wear one set of clothes through all of it, because when you get thin set on something, it's done. You're not getting that out, and your significant other will probably, not let you throw it in their washing machine. So yeah, so wear one set of clothes, and you'll be walking like the Tin Man by the end of it all, but at least you won't waste your whole wardrobe. My wardrobe was old, left over from my teaching days, so a lot of it I'm just gonna, maybe we'll light a campfire with it one evening and be done with it. But yeah, it's not getting cleaned and used again. So when I got onto the internet looking for ideas to clean thin set from grout lines, I came up with all kinds of things. Basically all kind of tool you can imagine. For example, there are tools for that, and I own most of them now. So this is a hand grout rake, or what should I call this? Grout line rake, yes. This one has a diamond coated cutter on it. It looks like it should do really well. However, because we went with 16th inch grout lines here, these diamond coated ones are all way too wide. It didn't matter whether I bought an expensive rake or a cheap rake. Didn't matter. The diamond cutters that came with it are way too wide. Now this cheap rake that I bought comes with just a steel cutter, kind of like a little saw on it. And that actually does not work too bad. So it'll get in and it pulls along, and that's gonna work pretty good. So there are a wide range of things, but what you should do first is, when you're tiling, try to keep things as clean as possible. Wipe off tiles as you go. What I did is I had a margin trowel with me for putting thin set on the wall. When I put a tile on, when I remembered to do it, which was pretty often, I would just put it in and slide it along like that at a little bit of an angle, and that pulls everything out of the joint. It's awesome. So just drag it through. That works really good. One reason why that isn't quite the end of the picture, or the end of the discussion, is because this was the first time that I had used these tile levelers. So this piece goes in behind the tile like that, and there's a red wedge that goes through here, and you push everything tight and it levels your tiles really nicely. These things work really good, but there is a serious downside with these, and when you, like I put 2 in here and here's one that's left yet, you cannot rake the thin set out from between here. You can't get it. So that means you've got 2 spaces for me, 2 spaces in each grout line here that I couldn't get the trowel in to clean. So I have to be able to get that off somehow. And the other thing that when you look at these, they're designed to break off at, you know, to the bottom. So if they break off right, there shouldn't be a problem. However, maybe it was just the way I was doing it. Not all of them break where they should. Like this is broken where it should, but this is higher, and that's going to affect how much grout you get in your joint, and I just don't like that. So after I figured out what I was dealing with, then the chase was on to find something that would remove it properly and not damage the tile. These porcelain tiles are pretty tough, but the edges are somewhat vulnerable. So you need to be careful when you're working with these edges. So anyway, these clips weren't breaking off exactly the way they should. So I have just about every tool in the book here, short of the plasma cutter, which you saw in the insert on the introduction. So just a little bit of foolery there. So this works really good when you don't have a plastic clip in. When you have a plastic clip in, you somehow need to get that down. I like to get to the back of the tile. I figure if I have the thickness of the tile of thin set in the joint, that's going to be optimal and that's going to last a long time. So that's my goal. If you're getting thin set off of the top of the tile, what I found worked really good for that is I have these 6-inch Marshalltown drywall knives. I really like them for taping, and they work good for other applications as well. But here I've got a little bit left, and I kind of put my hand over it to stabilize it, and that works pretty good. So it's slow, but it works. And I don't really feel, I've done quite a bit of testing. What I did with some tile that were going to be behind the vanity, I worked and I scraped, and I was a little concerned that maybe scraping back and forth with an edge like this on the face of the tile would leave scratches that wouldn't go away. So I scraped some really hard, and then I took water and washed it off nicely, and there are no scratches. So this works, at least it worked for me. So that works really good. The other thing, and this was alluded to on internet video or YouTube, a razor scraper. A razor scraper for things on the tile works really good. See, with all these tiles, see, your fingers get full of this stuff, and you're working and things come, you know, you got thin set everywhere, it globs on you, like my shirt here, you got it on your hands, you got it on your gloves, and you touch something and it sticks on. Like, I don't think in the camera you can see any thin set on here, but there is a light layer of it. But the razor scraper works really good. So that is one tool, if you're doing this, I would say is a must. So, okay, how do you get the grout line clean? Because there is going to be some grout, no matter how good a job you did cleaning as you were going, or maybe you're just a better tiler than I am. But I find that even if I clean them, I still need to go back and scrape them a little bit. Now, this tool is just a shade, It's exactly the same width as this grout line. So this works. And the other thing that happens with these things is that, sorry about the motion here, my feet are getting tired. The thin set is very abrasive. So by going back and forth with this little saw, you're gonna wear the teeth out fairly quickly. So what I do is I just go into the shop, take my, the same cutting wheel I used for cutting tile in my 4.5-inch angle grinder, and just put some more teeth in. They don't have to be perfectly spaced or anything or perfectly shaped, just kind of give it some edge and some tooth again, and it seems to work for a while. So this works. You have one option here. One of the stranger options is these are Dollarama knives, steak knives, but they've got the serration on them, and you'd be surprised, they actually do a really good job. In fact, on the really narrow joints, like the 16th-inch joints, I would say this is better than this. And I paid, I don't know, $2 or $3 for 4 of them. So that's not bad. And yeah, this is gonna wear out because this was never designed to cut thin set, but it's gonna work and it's cheap. So you just either put a few notches in it, with your angle grinder, or go buy another set. But see, there's that plastic, and I'm in about that deep, so I'm almost at the bottom of the tile. But here, there's a piece of plastic. How deep? That's probably good. So this is really super effective and very cheap. Now, obviously this depends on the width of your grout lines. If your grout lines are wider, this knife maybe isn't a great idea because it's pretty narrow. Mine are nice and small. I tried to make them as small as I could. Wasn't brave enough to go with no grout lines like I see a few guys on the internet doing, but most of mine stayed pretty small. I had to make some adjustments as I talked about in earlier videos, but for the most part, for really narrow grout lines like 16th inch, these knives work excellent. It's a good choice. So anyway, we're moving right along here. Now we're coming to the high end, and that's an oscillating saw. Again, I have, and in fact I even have it in here somewhere. You can pay buckets of money for one of these oscillating saw diamond cutters, but this one again is too wide, and I'm scared of damaging the end of the edge of the tile with it. Like, porcelain tile is really tough. I've been amazed at how tough this stuff is. But also, when I opened the packs of tile, a lot of the tiles that I looked at when I was buttering the backside, noticed that there were chips out of the backside. So I suspect the edges of the tile are fairly vulnerable. So if you get something vibrating and wedged in there and then tip it up or down, you could end up cracking out the edge, and that would look bad. So this, I paid $8 at my local hardware or lumberyard here, cheapest place I found one. For wider lines, I think it would work pretty good. But for narrow ones, it doesn't, it's just too wide. So I needed something narrow. And did I mention that I'm cheap? So narrow came in the guise of these little, these are economy set of cutters. I think I bought at Princess Auto, where I buy everything economy. And they are thin. They are very, very thin saw cutters. And at first, I was going to go out and bring in my corded King oscillating saw that I just got back from repair. And I ran it a little bit in the shop, and all of a sudden it wasn't working again. So I thought, well, this is going to be the way to do it. So I invested in a rigid. The reason I bought a rigid is because I already have a couple of other rigid tools. So the battery pack, I have a charger for this. I have a couple other batteries, and this could also run in my other tools. So yeah, so I went with a rigid. It was actually the best deal out there. It was $138 for the tool itself, the battery, the charger, and I didn't have a bag or anything with it, but that's okay. I never use that anyway. But at first when I ran this, I wasn't impressed. I was really worried about the tile edge and how that would get chipped out. But I was running it pretty much wide open. And I thought about it a little bit as I was doing other tasks. And I thought maybe turning the speed down would help considerably. So what I did is I cut just above speed 1, and that gives it enough vibration that it clears the stuff out, but it's not hard to control. And because the one thing you do want to avoid is you want to avoid this cutter getting on the top of the tile, because that would be bad, I would think. So anyway, I have quite a bit of work to do here yet, but I'm going to cut one here. I've got one tab right here that I think I can maybe do on camera here, because boy, if I would do a video of doing this whole room, you guys would be bored stiff by the time it was done. So anyway, like I said, I'm very low on speed. Okay. There we go. I don't know if the video shows it, but there's a little bit of a black residue on here, sorry. And what that's from is there's black paint on the blade. So it's nothing to really be concerned about. At first I was. But I think you want to be very careful with this tool, because if you get it jammed in there and you tip it up or down, it's going to chip the edges off. I was playing a little bit with what's behind the vanity, and I try to see what my limits were. And I have a little bit of chip out on the very, very bottom corner tile there that nobody will ever see until they renovate again. And hopefully by then, it's not me renovating, let's put it that way. So, this seems to work pretty good, but if you had a smaller area to do and you had time and you didn't care about doing it, this works good too. Again, it depends so much on the width of your grout line. If you're dealing with, say, a 3/16 grout line, my goodness, you can get anything in there and away you go. In fact, I even saw one guy was taking and heating a chisel and, you know, getting rid of those plastic tabs. So just about everything imaginable can be used. So yeah, he would just heat it up and put the chisel in an angle and it would come off. Now that was a wider line because you could get the chisel in deeper, and that worked okay for him. Heating this porcelain, I never really tested it. I had planned on, but then I realized fairly early in my trial and error process that I wouldn't be using heat. So the other thing that I should mention is I have really come to love these sponges. These sponges we buy at Dollar Tree, and a pack of 12 sponges like this is $1. And we used them for cleaning up stucco, and now we're cleaning up everything abrasive and yucky, and they work great. They hang on a long time. I don't really know what the difference would be between this is something you'd pay considerably more for. So I think these are a great deal, and that's kind of what I can tell you about cleaning grout lines. Like I said, maybe just a recap. Try to stay as clean as possible though. That's the best is if you don't have to clean anything. But it didn't work for me that way, and I'll end up doing quite a bit of cleaning. I'm getting to the point I basically have kind of a third of the room done. So I've got a considerable amount of work ahead of me. However, I won't be able to work on it a whole lot more this weekend because I'm hosting a turning class for the Hub City Turners. So I'll have a few turners in my shop, the lathes will be running. That would make a much nicer video, but I don't know, when you have other people involved in a video, I think, again, from my school experience, you need to have permission and everything needs to be done in advance. And I'm kind of a shoot and post kind of YouTuber. So maybe in the future we'll shoot a little bit of a class. We have a wonderful instructor, Trent Watts is awesome. He's a wonderful guy, great instructor. It'll be a fun day tomorrow and Sunday. So with that in mind, there's really not much more to say. I think I've covered this topic as well as I can. There are many ways that you can do this, but there are some things maybe you need to keep in mind, like the end result. If you're going to be doing something that could potentially damage the tile, don't do it. Okay, but if you can come up with something and you think it's going to work and it's not going to damage the tile, I'd suggest testing on a place that isn't going to be seen and decide then. Don't go into the middle of a wall and start doing something and realize that doesn't work well. In the comments I had one person that suggested taking a sander and sanding the grout off the tile. Well, I would really worry about that. That to me would cause scratches on the tile. So just use some common sense, keep your end objective in mind, and work towards that. So with that being said, please remember to like and subscribe, and there'll be another video coming out right after this one. In that one, I'll be back in the shop and doing some dust collection with my thickness planer, which is going to help out an awful lot. And so hopefully you're going to learn something from this content, or at least maybe it'll help you when you tackle your own tiling job. So anyway, take care, have a great weekend, and we will see you on the next one.